Hello, everybody. How the hell are you? This is Real Men Talk Shit, and I didn't even get a chance to fucking retweet the link because I'm a fucking douchebag. We have Wendigoon. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Let's not fuck up the rest of the show, and hopefully we'll have an amazing show. I literally just texted myself live to make sure that I actually did the shit the right way, and hopefully it's not lagging. Because in 30 seconds, I guess that's a hell of a lot shorter when you're excited than when you're sitting here waiting for an hour.
Yeah. So is it cool if I go ahead and post the link?
Yes, you're good now, man. You're good now. And
right,
it looks like it's up on Facebook, so we are good. We are good on that end as well. So, how the hell are you, man?
I am doing good. How about you, dude?
Not too bad. Just sitting here nervous as fuck this entire day, worried about this fucking show, making sure it goes right. Because no matter how many shows you fucking do, the second you get somebody who's fucking cool as shit, you're scared as fuck because who the hell knows if it's going to be a good show or not.
Well, I can't wait to see whoever that guest is because it ain't me. But no, I appreciate it.
You're fucking killing it, man. There's no way that anybody can knock that one.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's been rather fortuitous for me, but I'm enjoying it every step of the way. So it's been really fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So I thought it was super fucking cool because in 11th grade, holy fucking shit, I am getting blown up on. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out. In 11th grade, actually, I was asked to teach a class when I became a senior on conspiracy theories. So the second that I saw you pop up in the comment section of our favorite podcast, I was like, dude, I got to fucking ask, regardless if anything happens or not. I got to ask because I did a whole bunch of shit on conspiracy theories and I wanted to see your opinion on them and sit here and have some conversation and bullshit. I got to get this phone off my lap before I end up shitting myself. And, we're going to sit back and chill for a little bit.
Gotcha.
Hopefully this anxiety doesn't drive me fucking up a wall. So I was asked to teach a class on JFK. I had a project that I did that was, I think, like 12 pages on JFK about what possibly could have happened, who in depth did it, why I thought that person, why other people could have did it, and try and disprove myself with my first theory and go back and forth. So what do you think happened with JFK?
So there is some, I guess I could say elements that I'm not 100% nailed down on. The one thing that I will say is a known fact is the one thing that I can promise is Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone, if at all. What I will say, like 90% of me says it was the CIA. I understand there's arguments for the mob. Honestly, I could see it being the two of them, considering especially with JFK's brother and all of the ties that the Kennedys had to the mob, that it wasn't co-opted or something similar. Because there's been several cases throughout history that the CIA or government agencies have used fall guys, essentially, from organizations like the Mafia to carry out acts.
Especially with the Kennedys suing HBO for the Kennedys miniseries as well, which actually leaves a lot of credence to the Mafia fighting against the Kennedys. They show it in the show. They show, hey, we want to kill this guy.
Yes,
they stab
100%.
him in the back. They fuck him over. And that's super, super in depth. And how many people really want to sit there and actually get told that they're cheating?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I think that... So a lot of people want to say solo because there's a thing with a lot of people. I mean, not necessarily like me or you or guys who watch like the kind of content I make about JFK, but a lot of people don't want to sort of have that, I guess you could say, black pill moment of the government is responsible for a lot of these high profile murders or whatever. So they'll kind of go with the Mafia because I guess it's easier to digest. But given the insane amount of negligence on the CIA's and the Secret Service's part, as well as the ludicrous amount of cover-ups they did afterwards, where it comes to like mishandling information, getting the wrong guy, not investigating leads at all. It's at least knowledge of it, in my opinion, like direct cover-up of their own actions.
So,
100%.
I found out this interesting piece of evidence when I was doing this project, and a lot of people don't pay attention to it. Do you know where George W. Bush was when JFK was shot?
So he was in Dallas.
You know.
So it's actually in the video I talked about JFK. It's become a channel meme because I talked about that, about George H.W. being in Dallas. At the time, I don't think he was the head leader. He was like a personal entourage, but it was something that he was mediating JFK going through Dallas that day. Oh, whoops. And the line I said, I knocked my headphone out. Let me grab it back. The line I said in the video is, remember that this dude failed his job harder than anyone can ever possibly fail their job. Like, he's supposed to protect the president.
Standing underneath the school book depository.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. He's right there. He failed so hard in so many ways, and he gets promoted for it. Like that right there.
What the fuck is going on here?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. In my opinion, I'm not saying that he's like a sole conspirator by any means, but he played his part that he was told to play, and he was rewarded for it later on. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. And that's what led them to be like, you need to teach a class on this because we can't talk about this, but we can sure as hell have a student come in and talk. I'm like, guys, what the fuck is going on here? If you guys can't talk about it, how the hell do you expect me to talk about it? Let alone getting up in front of 20, 30 people and sitting here talking about a conspiracy theory when 3/4 of the class is not going to give a fuck. There's going to be that one smart kid in the front of the class. It's like, holy shit, somebody else knows. And then there's going to be the 3 kids in the back that's like, conspiracy theories are cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. And like, so without pointing too much towards modern day affairs, you can kind of smell out the BS whenever it comes up by what they put focus on, or more specifically, where they like lay blame on. So actually, not a lot of people know this. The term conspiracy theorist was popularized immediately after the JFK murders.
Wasn't it led by the FBI and the CIA as well?
100%. Yeah, exactly. So the first ever use of the word conspiracy theorist was in trials in the investigation that follows, because what they did, because that word had never been used before, people were like, how did he get those shots off? Like asking logical questions about the layout of how everything went. And the FBI was like, oh, you mean the conspiracy theorist and all those whack jobs? I bet they think aliens did it. And they would like take these absurd, like there was some guy who was very clearly schizophrenic, who was on camera saying that Jesus shot JFK. So like in the court trials, whenever they're like, this guy was out of his mind. He said that he saw Jesus come down and shoot him, like clearly out of his mind. So as soon as at the trial, they start talking and they're saying, oh, well, what if there's a second shooter? What if this? They like mention that guy and they're like, oh, so you're one of them now, huh? You're just one of these crazy schizophrenic guys who thinks that Jesus shot JFK. Like they started pulling extreme examples to put down naysayers. And then people didn't want to be murdered in like the court of public opinion and have their ideas shot down. So they just shut up about it, which is like a perfect, I mean, the term's kind of popularized now, but that's actual gaslighting, just convincing someone that their opinion's wrong.
And it's fucking insane. You know, every single person uses gaslighting in their real life. In all honesty, at some point, you'll do it to somebody. And if the person doesn't pick up on it, they fall into exactly what the hell you want them to do. Yeah. But when you're inciting essentially violence that occurred, and now you're like, nah, anybody who says that it didn't happen this way is fucking nuts. It's insane. It's so in depth and so ludicrous that so many people want to sit here and say that conspiracy theorists, there's no basis for any of them. Mm-hmm. Just because there's some basis of fact means that there probably is smoke. And when there's smoke, there's fire. If there's some ideal that you can actually pick apart and look at, why isn't people questioning things? You should be questioning things that are in front of you. And if you don't question the things that are in front of you, then what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. 100%. That's an issue a lot of people like run into is they can, and a lot of it, I understand. Well, I don't condone it, but I understand it. A lot of people don't want to come to that point of acceptance of either I am part of a flawed system or I am like wholly surrounded by a flawed system.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons, and not to, I know this is like a touchy subject online, but that's one of the reasons that like the Epstein thing has been so like drilled into people's mind. Exactly. Because if that's true, which I believe it is, but if that's true, then that means that an like incalculable amount of high profile people who we trust for laws and elections and whatever, are at least in the know about it, for all of that to come together, which is why a lot of people just kind of saw that whole story and they just shut the book and they set it down because they did not want to learn how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Nobody wants to learn how deep the rabbit hole goes. And this blew my mind how I just connected it, actually. So we had Epstein happen.
Right.
And he sat there and he didn't kill himself. John McAfee came out saying, hey, I'm not going to kill myself. If I kill myself, pay attention. And there's not a single fucking sound. Bill Cosby was just released from jail.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did something just as bad as the two of them combined.
So, yeah.
And just kidding.
So, if you watch news stories, whenever something like that, whenever something that they don't, I say they, I mean like, the powers that be or whatever. Yeah. Whenever something happens that they wouldn't be a fan of, there's normally a sleight of hand trick that's performed somewhere in some regard. Anytime a news story, like for example, the Panama Papers, right?
Yep.
Whenever the Panama Papers, that's when, I forget what big story it was that dropped. It was about, it was some celebrity affair that had happened before. And then it became, anyway, as soon as a big deal happens that they don't want people to know about, all the news immediately turns their attention to something else that's going on somewhere else at the time, just enough to where it's like I said, a sleight of hand trick. It's the equivalent of watch the birdie as they perform the actual trick with the other hand. And in cases where anyone who critically thinks about the situation, like the JFK shooting, like the Panama Papers, Operation Northwoods, and Epstein, it is irrefutable, damning evidence against these people. But every time something distracts those who aren't going to keep looking.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you're coming through clear on your end or if it's coming clearly through to YouTube and Facebook, but Wendigoon seems like his video's lagging a little bit. If he starts skitzing out, I will just talk over him if I need to, but he's coming through clearly audio wise. He is not coming through clearly video wise. That is on my end. I don't know about anybody else. It's crazy. I just Googled Panama Papers. Shit's still coming out about it. Nobody's fucking hearing about it.
Yeah. So the Panama
shit's still coming.
So are you familiar with the Panama Papers? Like the information in it?
I didn't read the in-depth information. I know it was essentially shell corporations that were essentially hoarding money so that way people didn't have to pay taxes, and large people like Emma Watson and stuff like that were getting hit by it, which was hilarious because it's like, oh, look at these internet darlings and these Hollywood darlings getting fucking destroyed. Get fucked.
Yeah. What you'll see a lot, what you'll see a lot is like the hypocrisy in it. What it tends to be with situations like that is normally activists who preach a lot about social programs and stuff like that, which I'm not bashing those or anything about them, but people who say like they point at their audience and say, you need to donate more, or you need to be a part of this, or you need to like contribute to your community or whatever. And then you dig a little deeper and they've been hoarding money in these offshore corporations as a way to get out of paying their taxes. So it's one of those things, rules for thee, not for me. Like, you should pay money and your taxes. I'm not going to do it, but you definitely should.
It's very similar to the religious people who are playing with altar boys and saying, oh yeah, well, gay stuff, you can't do that. Playing with kids, you can't do that. But we're going to. And fuck, that's gonna be clipped.
That's
gonna be clipped.
Those are Yeah, those are it's a lower form of person when you not only commit like these treacherous acts, but you do it through like a grin, or you do it while telling someone it's wrong.
It
It's
really is.
absolutely horrid.
And the shitty thing is it happens in so many different people's lives, whether it is clergy, whether it is religious people, or even your dad or your mom. It could be, don't drink, but I'm going to drink, or don't smoke, but I'm going to smoke. Do better than me, but I'm still going to do it. No, you need to do better for yourself. You need to do better for the people that are around you. You can't just say, do better than me. You can't sit here and say, I'm going to do it, but don't fucking do it. Like, I can't tell my kids not to say fuck as long as they're not being an asshole to each other or an asshole to me. If fuck slips out every now and then, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
If a kid says fuck or ass, it's not the biggest fucking deal. As long as you're not being rude or nasty, you're okay.
Well, it's like, honestly, what you're saying is, to me, one of the reasons that things like Epstein and JFK and all that hit so hard, because by the people who we're policed by, who give us rules, who tell us to pay in, who tell us not to commit treasonous acts, that they can get away with the worst, like, evils imaginable. But then they have the audacity to tell us that we're not doing our share or doing our step right. It's just different forms of hypocrisy at different levels.
It really is. And there's so many of those different levels. And you go into levels every single fucking week. You go into some in-depth shit that I've never
What's interesting is, like, I've always been interested in conspiracy theories, right? And I had like a surface level understanding of a lot of them. And now that I've like started this, like specifically the conspiracy iceberg, I've like, people have commented noting it, that I went from being an observer to like now I'm used as a firsthand source on like 4chan threads and stuff. Like, it's been the total switch over.
I watched the views go from like 20 to 13 when I said that fucked up shit. But you know, it is what it is. Fuck my life. I can't even change it, man. Can't even change it. But what is the craziest one that you've read that you're like, this can't fucking be true? And then as you just go deeper and deeper, you're like, wow.
So the one is, so not like the dumbest one. You're saying like the one that's given me like a realization.
Yeah, like made you feel really weird when you read it because it didn't make any fucking sense. And the second that you put in like that little bit of effort to understand what the hell you're reading and saying, it then clicked.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you. So, like, I talk about this on the channel all the time, but Hollow Earth has been like a wake up for me. The reason for it, whenever you initially hear about Hollow Earth theory, it's like, okay, so what? You go like 20 feet underground, the gravity switches, and ooh, there's a sun, and like, oh, there's dinosaurs and stuff, and whatever. It's like, haha, what a cool science fiction movie concept.
Yeah,
and that's about where you leave it at. Well, that's also where I was going to leave it at, until I like started to get into a ton of the research with it. The first stuff is World War II. So looking at the Germans especially, they were really obsessed with the idea of it. And they did, like,
if you look at a lot of conspiracy theories, sorry to cut you off. You look at a lot of conspiracy theories in World War I and World War II. If the Germans didn't think it up at the beginning, it's not really a conspiracy theory now, other than JFK, unless it's something that's recent. Yeah. Every single conspiracy theory that's happened,
the Germans got there first.
The Germans got there first.
100%. No, you're right about that.
We can space travel in a bell.
Yeah, yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, all their crazy tech and stuff. But when it comes to Hollow Earth, they did a ton of. So one of the reasons that Germany lost the war is because of a huge push of efforts into things that were not the war, like into searching, and then of course like evil acts like the Holocaust and all that. They their troops were sparsed out, but they sent a ton of people to like historic sites around the world, just like looking for pyramids in southern Africa, and like the people that went to Antarctica to a base that was later known as Site 22 for some reason. And like in all these logs, they talked about finding the caves that lead underground to like a different place. And then like looking at the records they were using, and this is like more so broad outside of the Germans, but every culture in the world has some relation somehow to things coming from underground. Either it be the Egyptians talking about the underworld, even religions talking about demons that live underneath.
Or hell, or like anything.
Exactly.
Any basic ideal. A lot of them have essentially a hollow earth ideal.
Exactly.
You think hell, you think the underworld, you think even the bug people that we have ideals in movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who the fuck likes bugs? Nobody fucking likes bugs. They come from the ground.
A lot of that, like the whole idea of monsters underneath, actually comes from a lot of the first French expeditions. So during the periods of the Goths and the Franks, before there was like Germany and France, there was like these expeditions led by kings, like essentially hunting parties, and they talked about like slaying these like skinless creatures, as they described them, that crawled out of caves. It's just like there's always been these weird stories of like things coming from underground, and like so
or caves. Everybody's so afraid of caves.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I'm terrified of caves. This hasn't helped me either. Yeah, reading about all these like monsters that run out of caves has not helped that at all. But yeah, so it's like you combine all of that with the history of it, with people that went looking for it, and then you start to think kind of like objectively about it, and you're like, okay, if you've got like a planet that's full of different composite materials of rock, and then you leave water and erosion and everything else to happen to it for however many years, it's probably going to hollow out. And even like cave systems that are known, right? People just guess where they go. Like I talked about in one video, but like there's caves around where I live where they drop trackers into the waterways, and then like eventually they just like they go so deep that they can't get a signal on them anymore, and then they never see them again. And it's like, okay, that's terrifying.
Hollow Earth theory is so much more believable than fucking flat Earth theory.
Yes. Correct. And
it's like the only way flat Earth theory works is if the Earth is shaped like a fucking donut that's about like 20 miles thick.
Yes.
And it's the only fucking way that it fucking works.
Yes, correct.
Like, how do these people actually genuinely think that the Earth is flat?
So there are people who are like, we're a giant pizza disc spinning through space. That's one flat Earth theory. The other flat Earth theories have to do with like concepts of Thule and stuff like that. So essentially that the edges and this like the reason that like flat Earth theory like stops dead on arrival, and this is a way to judge a lot of conspiracy theories, right? It's like, okay, how many moving pieces and people have to be in the know about this for this to work? So like you say, JFK.
Also, if something's observable and doable, then it leads credence to something.
Correct.
Like I was explaining this to my daughter. She's like, Daddy, I don't know if there's aliens. I was like, well, don't worry about it. Number one, very, very highly likely there is, but very, very highly likely that we will never meet them again in our life.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Like statistically, the chances of that would be. Yeah.
And just going at it with a logical mind makes so much more sense and much more pliable to be able to deal with something. But flat Earth, you can see the horizon. So the only way it would work is if it's shaped like a disc, not a disc, a donut, where there's like a ridge. And you would only see it one way, but not see it the other way. And everything would be going downhill instead of up.
You know, I do kind of like donut Earth theory. Just saying that feels satisfying.
With this as I go. Tell me how cool it would look. This is ours. This is Real Men Talk
This
shit.
is ours.
This is ours.
Donut Earth theory.
And go ahead, share this on your channel. We'll have some fun.
Donut, it's tier 11 of the iceberg. Yeah.
Tell me how cool it would look if we could get a donut made that had the Earth shaped as like the icing.
That's fantastic.
It sounds fucking delicious.
But so there's actually I forget which theories it is. I think it's It's basically like Hollow Universe. I've read so many theories about how the Earth's shaped, but one of them is theorizing that the sky, the reason it's blue, is because we're actually looking at an ocean of a different planet or something out there that's being illuminated. So yeah, donut Earth theory. I also would, Noah. That's hilarious.
Hey, if we get 500 people in here, me and Wendigoon will sit here and find one of those people that actually builds things, and we will try and make some, and we will sell them.
I will make a donut globe.
We will get it done. We will get it
fucking
done. If we actually get 500 people in the chat, go share.
That's hilarious. I love that. But anyway, so
make me shit myself tonight, please.
So it's like the idea of like, so a lot of people think whenever you look at the sky, you're looking at the ocean, depending on different theories. Now, the concept of flat Earth, as it's related to Thule and stuff like that, is that the edges of the Earth are, I don't want to say ice walls. Essentially, they're saying they're ice walls, and they're melting away. And most of the theories
would make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And like most of the theories come to the idea that we're actually on a much, much bigger planet, and that we're just on parts of it that are slowly being pushed back. Now, again, the reason that doesn't hold water for several reasons, but one of the first things you can ask yourself about theories to see if they hold water is how many people would have to be in the know about it. So JFK, right? You can go, okay, a few high up members of the CIA, they agreed to spin a narrative. That's all that needs to know about it, like the truth behind it.
Yep. And the gun, Jack Ruby, and
yeah, exactly, yeah, and the gunman, 100%. So you've got that side of it. Now, do something like flat Earth theory. Everyone who lives on whatever the edge continents would be, everyone who's ever taken a boat over there, people who fly in planes, pilots, geographers, that like you would have literally hundreds of millions of people would have to be in the know about this conspiracy. Which, like, people who legitimately believe that, it can often be a form of like paranoid schizophrenia, like unironically, because at that point you're like, the entire world is conspiring against me. Yeah, I'm the only one who's being tricked by all the elites, and yeah. So
back to donut theory. It obviously would have to have ice walls, regardless if we're talking about flat Earth or donut theory, because how else are you going to account for both the North Pole and the South Pole? And the South Pole being so much bigger than the North Pole. The North Pole has to be the center of the donut.
So you're saying the North Pole is the center of the donut. Is there a hole in the donut?
It has to be. It's the only thing that makes sense.
You're saying like a donut. It is a donut, right? So, okay, so here's the question. Instead of like a day and night cycle where, you know, we rotate on a globe, would instead like the donut roll in on itself, like roll in and out? So it's like roll, because there's day and night cycles, but there's also like seasonal cycles, right? Exactly. So your day and night cycles could be the rotations around the texture of the donut.
We're putting way too much intelligent thought into this.
I know, but we're still going. So like, and then the year cycles is like the donut itself spinning, right? Like tumbling end over end.
Either tumbling end over end or actually just rotating.
No, I like that better. It's like a disc.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of those frisbees with a hole in it. See, they made those for a reason. They made those because NASA decided to actually sit here and be like, you know what? We're going to sit here and fuck with everybody. We're just going to release a frisbee that's shaped like the Earth.
Dude, like, yeah, you jest. That is legitimately how the majority of the QAnon conspiracies work. Like, look at this shape I found. This is the elites trying to trick us.
Exactly.
Have you ever legitimately read like one of the QAnon boards?
I have not.
Dude.
And the only reason I have not is because I felt like it was both sides really kind of fucking with people.
Right. I agree on that.
It seems so much like the whole white power thing where they changed the OK symbol into white power on 4chan boards and everything else. I was like, there is no fucking way that 99% of this is serious.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I also don't put it past the sniff test that there is a bunch of politicians in Washington, D.C. right now that are pedophiles. I wouldn't put it past 2 or 3 of them 100% to be pedophiles.
Right.
And if anybody does, I would be thoroughly surprised.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. But like,
and there's one of them in the White House currently.
Yeah, yeah. The reason that I like look at the QAnon boards is to make myself feel better, because like if I ever go too far down the rabbit hole with conspiracy theories, I see that and I'm like, I'm all right.
It's okay. We'll bounce off each other. We have donut theory now in between us. We'll just keep talking, and I'll make sure you don't go too far off the edge to where you go schizophrenic. Don't worry about it, buddy. I got you.
I get every time. Every time I say giants in a video, I lose a little bit more sanity. Eventually, it's going to be gone.
You're talking to one. I'm 6'4", and you know how many people are so much shorter than me.
Fantastic. Perfect. But yeah, so like one of the more recent this was like after Biden won the election. One of the more recent QAnon ones, it was a legitimate theory being brought forward that Biden and Trump had a face transplant. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like that is the level they get to. They were arguing the point of how there's a deep state court who is prosecuting Trump, who is actually Biden with Trump's face, and that Trump is now president with Biden's face. I go read that stuff and I'm like, all right.
It all comes together. You know why? Because Trump right now is being sued.
Correct. Yeah. So I guess they were right the whole time.
The entire reason we all exist is because Trump got sued. I'm sorry, guys. I broke the entire thing already.
I tried to stay away from modern politics, both because, for one, they're a touchy subject, and everyone's got like very strong opinions about them all the time.
It's so weird. Yeah. Because like you go back to 2000 when it was Bush versus what, Kerry or Gore? Which one was first? I get them backwards.
It was Gore, wasn't it?
I think Gore was first. I think it was Gore then Kerry. That's just the hill I'm going to die on. I could be saying it backwards. What the fuck ever. If we got Gore going into fucking 2001, we were fucked.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way anything in the Middle East happens at all. Nothing. Yes, shitty, pointless war. But we don't have any war if Gore, because Gore was Clinton's VP. Thank you, Noah.
Did you ever look to, is there a way I can pull the comments up?
Yes, up in the top right corner it says comments, banners, brand.
Oh wow, whoa, cool. There's a bunch of people. All right.
Yeah, boys, now we can see you.
I didn't see there was that going on. Hey everyone, hi. I just got all that.
Popping them up as they come.
All right, cool, nice. Anyway, yeah, that's cool. But have you heard about some of the Giants of Candabar theory, like in the opening days? So it's like there was and I need to look into it more because this is right up my alley. But in the opening days of the war in Iraq, there was an attack. There was like I don't know if it was a pretty small unit. I think it was like 6 guys to a squad. They were looking for bin Laden in caves, right? Which caves, Hollow Earth again. And there was one squad who they had one fatality. Wait, go ahead.
So what you're saying is bin Laden actually was one of the leaders of the underworld, and he came back to fuck with the United States because we're too intelligent, and we actually decided to sit there and figure this shit out.
I am now. Am I saying bin Laden is a lizard person? Maybe. Probably.
Well, he sure looks like one. That motherfucker looks so reptilian. I've never seen somebody so reptilian in my life. Joe Biden. Yes, somebody posted Joe.
Joe. But anyway, so there was like a squad that got ambushed looking through the cave systems, and one of them got killed. 5 others were injured, but well, not injured, like they immediately retreated. But on the comms, they kept screaming the word like big, like it's a person, it's big, and then they like screaming and freaking out, and they're like, "What is that thing?" Blah blah blah. And the local people had legends of giants that lived in the mountaintops. So the theory is that this squad legit ran into a giant that came out of a cave and like killed one of them and attacked the others. And I'm not sure what happened to those guys. It's it's one of those things that I like so much I don't want to look into it because they'll probably disprove it. So I'm just gonna keep telling the story and having fun with it.
Okay, so I want to go into this after the ad break because who the hell knows how long we're gonna go anyway. I want to get the
okay, gotcha. Yeah, go for it.
But there is no way that there is theory in every single country, in every single ideal, in every single story passed down that there's giants without there being giants.
Correct. I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
there's no fucking way.
I unironically 100% agree with you.
Okay.
Yes.
So Robinhood, many of you have seen everyone and their grandma trading cryptos like Dogecoin and Bitcoin. You want to join them and get free money right now? Join Robinhood in the link down below. And look at me. I'm sitting here posting the links as I talk. And I really fucked that one up. I tried to hit enter and it didn't send. You can get a free stock right now and get your down payment to the moon. You have the chance to get a stock worth $1 to $500, and you can join Real Men Talk Shit and millions of others using Robinhood as their crypto trading application. And holy shit, I can't fucking talk. And speaking of fucking, we got Blue Chew. So many people have problems with feeling confident in the bedroom, whether it's because of your depression, your medical issues, or just because you want to perform better. Go give the free trial of Blue Chew a try. You feel like a Greek god and nothing will get in your way. Not even those sweet, never mind. We'll just go on. That way, they take the time to check to make sure you're actually healthy enough to take the medicine and it won't hurt you. All you do is pay shipping, answer a few questions, and they give you your first shipment for free. Use our link down in the description and in the comments. Make sure you motherfuckers click the shit in the comments, assholes. Use the link down in the description below and in the comments. So that way you guys can feel like a naked Greek god. Also, there's a merch link in there. If you guys like the merch that I'm wearing currently, because I was banned on Facebook. So let's turn the flag upside down and say that we're banned. Or any of the other merch that's in there. Make sure to check it out at the minimum. I would love you guys. Or, buy something because this shit's fucking cool and I worked my ass off on it. So there is no way in hell that there's so many conspiracy theories, myths, urban legends, and holy shit, I got all the fucking words at the same time. I forget one of them normally about so many different things without there actually being a basis for them.
Yeah. It's like, it's one of those, okay, so this is like, there's a few things that I think need to be gatekept better.
Yeah.
Online. One of them being like a lot of cryptids and stuff like that, because a bunch of people misuse them. But it is a true talk of inherent fears, right? So there's two inherent fears that people have, that like a baby has these fears.
Yep.
And it is the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, right? Those are the two things that make your body jump. They instill a fight or flight reaction. Two fears everyone's born with. A third fear that isn't necessarily that specific, but even like newborns will show a distinct disdain for, is fear of things that look like people but aren't people. Like if you put a child around either a person or a like rubber face of a person, they are always horrified of the rubber face, even though you would think that they wouldn't be able to process it. And even like grown people looking at like a rubber doll versus a mannequin or whatever, there's just something that feels off. So that raises the question, why do we have an inherent fear of things that look like people but aren't quite people?
There's such a basic fear that when my daughter was about a year old, my wife's favorite movies are the Halloween series. So we would watch them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A 1-year-old doesn't know what the fuck is going on in Halloween.
Right.
But she would lay there and fucking watch. And every single time Michael Myers would come on the screen and have a jump scare, this baby would fucking jump. Now, there is no reason for this baby to jump. It's not the music. It's not anything like that. It's a fucking rubber face that's popping up in the middle of the fucking screen.
Yep.
Because there's nothing else. A baby's not going to understand the climax of a musical sound or a gunshot or something like that. It's just a noise. And most noises, babies tune out.
Yep.
There's no fucking way that baby understood that anything other than a rubber face. And it scared her every single fucking time.
Yeah, like it. So every culture, too, similar to giants, every single culture has some inherent legend of like mimicry, right?
Yeah.
There's always some creature that takes the form of the human or transforms into a human or something like that, right? So going off the same train of thought, if giants are real because everyone believes in them or has some legend about them, then what are these mimic things? Where did those guys go? That's terrifying. And like it comes back to a lot of legends of like the Wendigo and the Skinwalker and stuff like that. Like every culture had these things that would pretend to be people. And then you remember that babies are afraid of fake people, and it's awful.
So everybody has one of these stories. I have one too, and I'll tell it while you're thinking of yours. Was there an urban legend that you got told as a child from one of your friends in elementary school that you're just like, what the fuck is going on? So I live in a very, very small city, about 20,000 people. And in upstate New York, shittiest place in the fucking world. Mannequins, worst part of shopping, to be honest.
Correct. You're correct, dude. 100%.
I'm so happy everybody started taking the heads off them, so that way at least
they did start doing that, didn't they? I didn't think about that.
Did anybody else realize that? Because I thought I was the only one. But
weird that all happened about the same time everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So donut theory.
Yeah, so donut theory.
So about second grade, I started hearing about this lady, Crazy Patty. And I'm like, what the fuck are you idiots talking about? There was this lady who walked around with a shopping cart from Ames. I don't know how if Ames was regional or national in the United States. But I didn't really know I still don't know if Ames was regional or local. But Ames. She would take an Ames cart and walk up and down Main Street and walk up and down this huge ass fucking hill that's about maybe a quarter of a mile that's like this. Just walk up and down it. And anytime she saw a kid, she would take the bottles that she had in the cart and throw them at him and start screaming and yelling that they killed her kid. So now as an adult, I look back at this and I'm like, what the fuck was going on? Honestly, what the fuck was going on? Because I can't correlate this in my head. I can't make sense out of it. Why the fuck was this bitch running around with an Ames cart throwing bottles at little kids? Or was she even real? So I Googled. There was nobody named Patty. Nobody. Because she 100% would have been arrested at least 1,000 times for throwing bottles at kids.
Yeah.
There's no way in fucking hell that she wouldn't have been.
They
so
tend to
anybody who's heard of the story of Crazy Patty, leave it down in the comments down below. So what did you hear as a kid?
So I'm trying to think of, does it have to be one that got debunked, like factually debunked, or
no, that's just the way that one goes.
Okay.
That was like the big one of my town was Crazy Patty, because
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I guess how the story went was some kid drowned her kid in the creek that runs through the center of town. So anytime she saw any high school age kids, she would want to beat the shit out of them. So she would throw bottles at all the kids that she saw because she didn't really see a difference in age, and it caused her to go schizophrenic. But needless to say, her name wasn't Patty because I have no idea who the fuck she was. But there was a drowning in the creek in about 1975-ish. And that is where I would assume the myth of Crazy Patty came from.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah.
So there is, I live in Southern Appalachia. So the number of like ghost or folklore tales is like, there's a few I remember off the top of my head though that like stuck with me. One of them is they're on the lake near the spot where it's around where I live. There is a cliff that's called Jack's Bluff, and the story that I've been told forever is that in the I'm not going to say the name of the family, but it's like a rather wealthy family in the area who's like been in the area since like the Civil War. So it was one of their sons or cousins had the same last name, and his name was Jack. And he was, they were outside swimming, and the cliff's probably 6 or 7 stories high. It's way up there. Yeah. So, of course, college guys' story is they get drunk, they go climb to the top and jump off because it's like jumping off a bridge.
Yep.
So the story is Jack was climbing up it one day with his whole group of friends. He was the first one to the top. And as soon as he gets to the top of it, he gets up there to the top, and a snake comes out of the brush and bites him on the nose, right? So what you've also got to understand, this is one of those cliffs that you have to jump really far out of because there's jagged rocks and all that stuff right at the base of it. So rather than jumping, he falls, and he falls all the way down and lands on a jagged rock, and according to the story, rips in half. As soon as he hits it, just tears in half. His friends are terrified. They're horrified. And the police come get him, and it was a tragedy, right? So people quit climbing that rock, not because of that. I'm talking like in the 80s and 90s up until now. People quit climbing that rock because, as people have said, if you get to the top of the cliff, you can see someone, like as you're climbing, you can see someone standing back in the tree line. And people who have stood at the top have said they'll be standing there looking over and something will push them on the back. And 2 people... supposedly, according to who you ask, some have said that 2 people have died since. Others say that like people have been severely injured because they get pushed off, even though they're the only ones at the top. So the legend is Jack is mad that he couldn't live his life. And now that people are doing the same thing, he pushes anyone who goes to the top of the cliff. So that is like an old legend that to this day people will not go like fishing or swimming or anything around Jack's Bluff. So yeah.
So did you ever go there?
Yes. I never climbed up and jumped off.
Do you know anybody who has, though?
Yes. So I know people who have, and then they've told the stories of like they felt a push. I remember there was one guy. I heard the story the first time when I was younger. I would have been like 12 or 13. And the guy who told it to me had told it to me because whenever he got there, he felt Jack push him. And he's like, nope, okay. And like he took the long way around and walked around the mountaintops to get down. He wasn't jumping or anything. But yeah, so like Jack's Bluff is one of those. There's another bridge that people used to jump off of that supposedly a homeless man got hit by a train on. So like people who... like it's a much shorter bridge. It's only like 3 stories up, and kids will jump off of it. But the story is a homeless man got hit by a train while walking across it. So every now and then, people who are up on the bridge to jump off, a homeless man will just walk by, and you can't talk to him, you can't stop him or anything, and you just have to say nothing and sit there in reverence as he walks down the tracks.
So, with everything that you've Googled and looked into, do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in. I don't even want to say spirits. I definitely believe I believe in Christianity and stuff. I believe in demons and angels and all that. And there's several times in the Bible that talks about demons and the like will take the form of spirits, and that they'll come to. There's actually specifically a time in the New Testament where Paul warned the church that demons will appear to them as people that they've lost, in order to trick them and speak to them, which is a terrifying concept. So I definitely believe in the supernatural and things of the like, and I definitely believe of deceivers, I guess you could say, among the earth. So, and especially, there's been a few. Okay, so like one time I visited, I can say this place online because it's like a huge attraction now, but it's called the Brushy Mountain Penitentiary. It's a prison around where I'm at that... most famously is James Earl Ray was executed there after killing Martin Luther King Jr. So anyway, that prison. and it's a pretty popular attraction. Now it's become like a tour, and like they do like wine tasting theirs or whatever. There was a period of time after it got shut down.
Why the fuck do they ruin everything like this?
I know. Don't get me started.
So I live in upstate New York. There was a asylum about maybe 60 miles from me that like urban explorers would go to and just fucking traipse around. Why is there not something when you sign up for your driver's license that you're like, if I'm found urban exploring, I will not sue the location? And just allow these people to fucking explore and look at things that are fucking cool. They tore down this place for a fucking strip mall.
Man, that hurts. I hate that stuff so much, dude. I tell you what. My word.
Like there's so many jails and asylums and everything else.
Yeah. At least in Brushy Mountain's case, the building's still there. But I mean, they like gutted it and whatever. It's not the same. Yeah, tearing it down to put a strip mall. My gosh. So anyway, it shut down in 2007 because a guard got killed there and there was this huge lawsuit over it. Actually, it's wild. The way the guard got killed is a prison bus was coming in for transport, and a girl pulled up to the parking lot of the jail because it was this man going to be dead. That mall going to be dead. Yes, it will. It's funny. But
that mall is going to last shorter than the asylum did.
The mall, one day it's just going to be gone. They're going to come to work and it's just not there anymore.
Everything's going to be closed in it. The only thing left is going to be a GameStop and a fucking Walmart.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to be like, where'd the toilet paper go?
That's wild. They legit did like the poltergeist thing of like building it on a hollowed ground. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like this place was open in the 1920s. Think of how many lobotomies and fucked up shit that they did to these insane asylum people that they just built a fucking GameStop over top of.
Imagine being the ghost and like having to process that.
Why the fuck is there so many screens?
What is going on? That's brutal. But yeah, anyway, so like with going Brenda, we were talking about so Brushy Mountain, right? So Brushy Mountain, the reason it got shut down is because a girl pulled into the parking lot who her boyfriend or husband, I forget, was on the bus that was being transported into the prison. One for you. It haunts the PS3. So she got a shotgun and then went up and like stood behind the bus. So whenever the guard walked around, she just killed him. And then like she unsuccessfully tried to get her boyfriend off the bus or whatever. But there's this huge legal dispute over it. And because of it, the prison got shut down. So I think that was 2004, 2005. And then this whole distillery thing started around 2016, 2017. So there's like a decade of time where it's just an abandoned prison, right?
Yeah.
So during that time, there was an issue of people like trying to get into it. So they walled off everything. They like put locks on all the gates. And it's a giant old stone wall. I think the prison was built in like 1904 or something. Yeah. So it's this big stone wall and watchtowers around it. But if you know how to be sneaky, you can walk around the cliffside and like slide down into it. And if you're smart and leave a rope for yourself to climb back out, whole new meaning to Call of Duty goes. If you like get the rope and I'll be so insulted, some rich guy can at least make a pretzel place. It would be bad to be a GameStop
because I don't even know.
No.
Like
it's
good or
great.
not.
I love these guys. No, I love these guys. It's fantastic.
It's fucking hilarious.
I see like Ooft and Reno and Ray, like they follow me to everything I do. I appreciate it. But anyway, so like if you leave a rope for yourself, you can find a way back out. So we like slid down into the prison and then it's awesome, right? Like we're inside of a prison. It's just us. And another trick is if there's not a rope tied going down already, you're the only ones there. That or someone's been trapped there for a considerable amount of time because there's no other way in or out. Actually, the way that James Earl Ray broke out is him and a few other, I'm not a star. Sure, you're not, Ray. Him and a few other inmates had built sections of a makeshift ladder out of pipe So then they ran out one night and then assembled the ladder and then climbed over the wall because like there's really no other way to get out. So anyway, we were walking around through there. Actually, we were walking around through like the prison and like walking through the abandoned what's the name for like it's like a church but it's not a church. Chapel, yeah, a chapel. Like walking through the abandoned chapel where like there's crosses laying all over the floors and stuff and like bars on the windows, and then going through like the cell rooms where what the state did is they bolted all of the doors stuck open. That way, if some homeless dude comes in or whatever, he doesn't trap himself in a room and die. So all the doors you go to every room are bolted open. So like going through all of those areas, they're all bolted open, and like, man, like I know. So it's a legend around where I'm at, right? Like sometimes you'll just hear noises in the woods, or sometimes you'll see something that's not quite right, and you just leave it alone. That's what
it's
like
Wendigoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so honestly stuff like that. Like if you see an animal that's not acting right, you are not welcome. Turn around, leave respectfully. Do not leave anything behind. Just stuff like that. That's been legends that like people around here have told me, grandparents have told me, and all of that. Like, and be respectful of the woods wherever you go. And like I've had those. Anyone around here's had those moments. It's like getting to be dusk in the woods, and you hear something. You're like, that's not any animal I've ever heard in my life. I'm just gonna go. I do that with no. Anyway, so my gosh. So anyway, but like in there, it was like every time I went into somewhere by myself, it was like I could hear people talking to me. And it started out with me trying to ignore it, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until the point it's like someone standing over my shoulder just saying stuff, and I've just got to I've been homeless, I get a pass. And it's just like someone that keeps talking and making it. Correct. Yes. That's the rule. Take other pictures. Do not leave trash. Do not disrespect the place. Do not take anything from the place. Yeah, that's like the general rule. So whenever I went to, I got to the A block, or I think they called it Strip A, whatever. It's death row for the prison. And you can like, they had bolted off doors that had signs that said like death row up ahead. And I really wanted to steal the sign that said death row, but it was like 15 feet in the air and like screwed into the wall. But I really wanted that. Anyway, so like I went into the A block, which is solitary confinement, where they have like, and now all the doors are bolted open, but you go into each of those cells and people have like no one's been in there in forever. And like on the ceiling, they've got scratch marks, and like on the walls, and there's like dents in the door, and you feel like the sinisterness of it all. And then it's very dusty in there, right? This place has been shut down 8 years at this point. I walk into the middle of the room, and I notice something on the ground, and I look, and it's a candle. And I'm like, that's weird. And then I look around the candle, and there's these red lines coming off of it. And I'm like, what? And then I notice, and there's 5 candles around the room that I'm standing in. And I cleared the dust off. Yeah, so I cleared the dust off with my foot, and sure enough, it's a giant pentagram that's been drawn. Someone's come in there and performed like something in the block, some seance of some kind in the place where I'm sticking to the man, like of something in a place where people were killed, like right next to the execution chamber where they used to execute by electric chair, in the room that they all died. And man, you want to talk about feeling a presence, like just, and like the whole time just seeing things out of the corner of your eye, knowing you're not supposed to stare directly at them.
So I just want to say this now. We're at an hour. I'm going to let it go. We're going to keep going. as long as Wendigoon wants to go. I do have a heart out if the baby wakes up. If the baby wakes up,
understood.
I gotta fucking go, and it's gonna be end broadcast, and I'm sorry. So make sure to check out the sponsors down below. Make sure to check out the merch. If that happens, I'll shoot you a message. I'm not gonna be a dick, but the live stream is gonna go away if the baby wakes up.
What would you want to make a line at like 11 or something?
Whatever you want to do.
Oh,
we can end now. We can keep going. Doesn't matter.
We can keep going
if she wakes up.
Whatever you want. Yeah, that's all good with me. Yeah, we can keep going. That's no problem with me. So
I have no problem continue going. I'm just saying, you want out, we can end it here. If you don't, we can keep going. I just wanted to let them know because I heard the baby whine on the baby monitor and she fell back asleep. Just wanted to be a little bit preachy beforehand, so that way we kind of all knew what the hell was going on.
Knew what's going on. Correct. What he said. Fatherhood over podcast. Yes.
Yes. Even when podcast makes you money, fatherhood still comes first.
Yeah, my man's got his priorities straight. Yeah.
Got to be a killer dad before you can be a killer podcaster.
Yeah. But so yeah, it's just like in the especially the region I live in, ghost stories and stories of the supernatural. That was I realize now that was a very long-winded way of answering your question. Do I believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
But basically, I believe in like spirits. I believe in the supernatural. I don't know if I believe in like souls, like sticking around on Earth. I definitely believe things can impersonate them.
I would tell you to listen to the podcast I had with Dan the Medium, or Spirit Medium Daniel. It's the most recent one that I posted audio-wise, and it's somewhere on this channel. I will get them all back on order and get them in order and do what I need to do. But, kids. Check it out because I thought it was super interesting. He told me that I lived 27 lives. He explained to me what the afterlife is because he's essentially a center, a light for spirits to come to and stuff like that. And it was super interesting. And we got to a point where I let him do a reading for me in the middle of the show, and he pulled out my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather that came over here and was the governor of Rhode Island. And just pulled him out of nowhere. Just, hey, I'm seeing this guy with a ponytail and a beard, and he has a horse with him. He just keeps turning around showing me his ponytail. He fought in the Revolutionary War. And I was like, this kind of attire? He's like, yes. Had no idea. None. He's like, this idea that you have? I was like, what? Wait, what are you fucking talking about? He's like, this idea for this show, this idea for this ideal that you have of the new founding fathers. I'm like, whoa. Like, I didn't tell anybody about this shit. He's like, you need to do it. Just pulled shit out of fucking nowhere. It wasn't told to him. Just pulled it out. Like, I gave him the ability to use the easy answers of my grandmother who passed away, my brother who passed away. Didn't take either of those. Could have pulled my grandma, could have pulled my brother, and would have been believable because we talked about it during the show. But no, pulled out my great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super surreal.
It is surreal. Wow. A lot of that stuff blows my mind. Sort of, I don't want to say mysticism, but more so like the capabilities of people, like experiencing the supernatural and all that. It's really interesting, especially like different cultures' approaches to it. Like everyone's kind of, a lot of people have like different ways to get there, but there's similarities in between them. That's really interesting.
I was very skeptical when I had him on because I was like, you know what? It's going to be a good show. At the minimum, it's a good show.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show.
And I had like an 1.5 hour long phone call with him the day before. And I watched this orb go from one side of my house to the top corner of the room I'm in right now. And it was bright orange and was about the size of my fucking head. I'm like, there's nothing to fucking explain this. Nothing. I was like, there's either a spark in my house or I just saw something fucking weird that I can't explain.
No, like I remember I've had dreams about orbs before, stuff like that. I've had really weird dreaming experiences, but specifically one after my grandfather died, I had a lot about an orb specifically. He's also seen orbs too. There, yo.
Yeah. Whatchamacallit, I actually had reoccurring nightmares after my grandma passed away. I used to love the movie Twister, and I don't know if you've seen the movie or anybody else has seen the movie. I think it's a pretty big movie. I could be fucking wrong, and it could be one of the most
you're
small
right. You're right.
movies ever.
It's a big. Yeah. No, it's a pretty big movie. It had Bill Paxton in it, I think. So yeah.
I used to call it the Flying Dodge movie because I was in love with Dodge Rams.
Yeah.
And there's this drive-in near my house, and across from it, there's this road that I've never been on. Still never been on it. I have no idea what the road looks like after these mountains, but there's two mountains and it goes in between them. And then after the mountains, I believe it's a clearing, and it goes down to about where I used to live about a couple of years ago. Oh, and nope, we're good. And I was really fucking confused. And every single night I had the same dream. I would start out at the intersection with the drive-in and this road, and we would turn down the road. And as we passed and cleared the mountains, and if you've watched the movie Twister, it all makes sense. And my grandpa's black Dodge Ram, a fucking tornado comes and just flies the fucking Dodge Ram, and then bam, I hit a wall and I wake up. Every single night for 4 fucking years. I watched my grandmother and my grandfather pass away due to fucking Twister, the fucking movie.
That's terrifying, but it is funny that was spurred by Twister.
At 4 years old, me watching Twister gave me a whole bunch of nightmares back to back.
I do not mean to derail that direction, but have you watched Twister in like recent years?
I haven't.
I guarantee it'll probably be therapeutic because that movie's got some like cheesy moments.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Them trying to pick up the balls and throw them back in the fucking garbage can. Like, because you know that shit was built off a garbage can. You know it was.
There's this one scene where they're like, what's like the highest a tornado can be rated or whatever, like a 5. Yeah, 5. So they're like, there's a scene where, you know, it's all the storm chasers and they're gathered around the house and they're talking about, they're like, yeah, we saw a 4 in a mod from blah, blah, blah. It's like, rip the paint off a house through the brick, blah, blah, blah. So then like the girl who owns the house, like, oh, well, what's a 5 like? And everyone in the house at once, like if they're holding something, they're like they drop everything and silence falls across the room. And then Bill Paxton leans in and he's like, you don't want to see a 5, little lady. Like, that is not how storm chasers would react. They'd be like, oh, well, you know, it's worse. It's not like Voldemort and Harry Potter. It's not like an unspeakable word. It's hilarious. Oh, it's
Dark Mark. Speaking of Harry Potter, Dark Mark.
Look at that. Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha. It actually glows in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know it could do that. That's great.
The green here and the green in the Deathly Hallows glows.
That's fantastic.
So
Theo, sorry, go ahead.
That's what I was going to read. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So Theo said, what's y'all's thoughts on tarot card readings? So I guess I feel kind of the same way I do with him about, like I've said before, I'm like religious and stuff. I guess I feel the same way I do about Ouija boards. In the way that if you go looking, you'll probably find something when it comes to like the spiritual and all that. I can tell you this. I don't think Ouija boards are legit, but I will never play one because I don't know that they're not legit. I've also seen weird things happen with Ouija boards, but once again, I think I don't know. I will say everyone likes the tat. That is a cool tat. Okay. Everyone like
I drew it
wants
myself,
to talk. The one thing I do like doing is like persisting people to think that they're real and things like that. So in the past, I'll be completely honest, I've just lied to people to like freak them out because like I want to keep the legends going. The best example of that, there's a place near my house. It's called the Hands Lot. And the reason is the story is that was an old orphanage that burnt down that was attached to this church, and the church has been there since like the 20s or 30s. It's a really old building. The story is the orphanage burnt down in the 50s. So now, if you go and it has to be after midnight, it has to be between the hours of midnight and 4:44, the witching hour. Has to be between that time. What you do is you drive your car down to the parking, and this is way in the countryside too. Like you're out in the boonies by the time you get there. Yeah. Pull your car down to the church. You park in the parking lot. You get out. It's a gravel parking lot. You take one piece of gravel. Everyone in the car has to do it. And you throw it in the direction of where the orphanage was. So then, well, there's nothing there now, but where it would have been before it burnt down. Everyone gets back in the car. They drive down the road to where the looper, it's like it ends in a cul-de-sac. I say cul-de-sac, it's a dirt road. It's like a big dirt circle. So you drive down to the dirt circle, turn your car facing outwards, stop, turn off the car, turn off all the lights. You wait there, and then you'll hear like these little tippy taps around the side of the vehicle. And then once that's done, you wait like you pretty much wait as long as you can take it. You start the car back up and you drive away. And that's like the whole thing. And the idea of what's happening is that whenever you first go there and you throw the rocks, you're waking up the kids' spirits. So then when you drive down the road, they're chasing the car. And once you turn it off, that allows them to catch up to the car. And then the tapping is them around it. So then once you leave, you get far out of there, you get off the road. And then if you get out of the car, there will be handprints on the outside of your car. So that's the legend, right? Okay, so what I did is this whole group of friends was like terrified of this thing, right? And the whole time I was like super skeptical about it. This is the first time I'd ever heard about it too. I'm like, this is going to be dumb or whatever. So this is before I'm like what I am now. I was like more like, that's dumb or whatever, till I started to see how cool it was, the supernatural and all that. So we go, and on my way to get back in the car, I'm like, oh, I got to walk around the other side. And as I'm walking around, I just put handprints all over the back, all over the glass, the door, and then I get in. So we go do it, and all the girls are losing their minds because every time like the gravel crunches or a stick breaks, they have a horrifying. That's an elaborate local tale. Yes, it is. Every time they hear like the littlest noise, they're like, ah, and they're freaking out. So eventually they're like, get out of here, get out of here. So they get out. And then I remember specifically, we pull into a McDonald's parking lot and we get out and they're like, that wasn't so scary. And they look and there's handprints all over the back of the car. They had one girl passed out. They screamed, like all of them were screaming, losing their minds. They started crying. Like I said, one girl like just laid down and fell asleep. Just passed it. Yeah, we do a little trolling. So the whole time, like I was a skeptic going into this. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm also feeding into it being real. Those guys told, like the guys and girls told everyone. They made videos about it. Like they were talking about how it's real, how this has given them a newfound belief in the supernatural. And I never told those people.
Well, now it's out there.
Well, I highly doubt they're watching me. And I don't even think any of them know about me being a YouTuber or whatever.
So the shitty thing is
safe.
Is the baby is up. So I do have to go.
Understood.
This has been a fucking blast. I would love to have you on again.
Of course, I would love to be back.
We have to talk about donut theory again.
We will talk about donut theory. Thank you everyone for my Twitter. You guys are fantastic. I see your names like popping up all the time. Thank you guys so much for coming over here. Guys. Thank you for checking out. Check out his future podcast. I'm going to advertise for you. Like stick around, watch what he does in the future. Follow him on Twitter and all that. So yeah, he's a cool dude.
So check out Blue Chew. Check out Robinhood. They're great fucking sponsors. If you need a hard dick or want to make some money, check them out because they keep the show going. Check out the merch because it's cool as fucking shit. Who the fuck doesn't like being banned on Facebook? And, got to keep the shit going.
Yes.
It's been a blast, dude. Shout out your stuff.
I'm Wendigoon on YouTube. I get too much attention already and I don't know how to handle it. Just watch this guy's podcast, and that's my advertisement.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good day.
Real shit's been talked.